When I played the Killing Floor 3 beta earlier this year, I said in my review that the game needed to be delayed, otherwise it was going to be dead on arrival. To my surprise, Tripwire Games actually delayed Killing Floor 3 to address the community's concerns. So here we are several months later with the full release. Has it actually been improved? Is it fun? Is it worth the $40? You know the deal. There's one thing I want to make sure everyone knows about my channel. I will always be honest and tell you what I think of a game. I won't change my opinion on a game if the general public thinks one way or another. I'll always tell you what I think of a game and not what everyone tells me I should think. And that's no different with Killing Floor 3. I have actually been having a pretty good time despite the game's issues, which there are several and I will talk about them. I think Killing Floor 3 is a lot of fun and in some ways makes some genuine improvements to the formula compared to its predecessors. Is it a great game? No, but I do think it is a good game with a solid foundation and a ton of potential, and if Tripwire continue to listen to feedback like they have been, I think we'll have a pretty awesome game down the line. So in this review, I'll be going over everything I like about Killing Floor 3, the pros, cons, everything in between, so hopefully by the end of this video, you'll have a pretty good idea if this is a game you'd enjoy. As always, if you're new to the channel, thanks for checking out the video, and if you're already subscribed, welcome back. Let's dive into Killing Floor 3. If you're unfamiliar with the Killing Floor games, they are incredibly simple. They are essentially Horde mode the game. You need to survive against increasingly difficult waves of monsters called Zeds. They are pretty much bioengineered mutant bioweapons that would have the Umbrella Corporation foaming at the mouth. Each wave will introduce more and more Zeds as well as new enemy types, which really jacks up the stress and chaos. In between rounds, you can purchase new weapons, upgrade your equipment, refill ammo, all that good stuff. It's a very simple gameplay loop that pretty much all the games follow, and at its core, that's one reason why Killing Floor 3 can be so fun, because it's a proven dopamine generator. This shit just gets you in the zone and allows you to turn your brain off and just enjoy the gory mess you create each round. It's honestly just fucking fun. There's really no need to complicate it. But for Killing Floor 3, Tripwire wanted to add some more depth, which I do appreciate. You'll be playing as specialists called perks. These are essentially your classes. In Killing Floor 2, perks existed as well, but the customization aspect of these perks were not nearly as deep. But on the bright side, you can choose to play any character with any perk, allowing you to rock your favorite character and pair that with whatever class you wanted to play. In Killing Floor 3, characters act much more like heroes do in a hero shooter or an RPG, with set skills and active abilities and a deep Borderlands-like skill tree, which allows you to create your own builds, and because I love RPG games, I did genuinely love the added depth. But the issue is these characters suck, both in their visual design and their personalities. Outside of Foster, who is a returning character, there isn't really anyone I like in terms of their design. And at the time of this review, those characters are locked to their respective classes, which is a huge issue for the community. But thankfully, they have already stated that in a future patch, you will be able to play any character with any class, just like its previous entries, which is great. But who knows when that update will actually drop. As I mentioned, these classes have a ton more depth to them. Each class has an expansive set of passive and active skills to choose from, and every 2 levels you'll get to choose a new skill and upgrade existing ones. And thankfully, Killing Floor 3 is a game that actually gets better the more you play. At first, you will feel weak, you don't have any skills or upgrades unlocked, but the more you level up your character, the more you feel the impact of these upgrades, which really helps on the gameplay side of things. Each class has multiple weapons that you can use that are tailor-made for their role, but you are free to use any weapon from any perk you like. And another great addition to Killing Floor 3 is weapon crafting. As you play the game and rack up kills, complete matches, all that good stuff, you'll be earning materials. You can then use these materials to craft weapon attachments and modifications, each with different stats that will alter the way the weapon functions. Different scopes, ammo types like armor piercing, incendiary rounds, laser sights, all of these can be crafted and attached to your weapon of choice. These attachments can also be upgraded further, increasing their stats and even offering special bonuses when fully upgraded. And this isn't some throwaway system to add complexity for complexity's sake. Different enemies and bosses especially are weaker or more resistant to different damage types. Armor-piercing rounds obviously are very strong against heavily armored enemies, where some enemies are weak to fire or frost. So you are encouraged to create different weapons for different situations, and if you want to tackle the harder difficulties, you will absolutely have to be prepared. There are also some tweaks to the core gameplay. As mentioned, characters have special active abilities like ultimates that essentially act as an oh shit button, and you can't spam them either. You'll be using these abilities only once or twice a round, so make good use of them. Thanks to the skill tree, you can further enhance how these skills work and these abilities function, as well as improving general passive skills and your character's unique equipment. Not everyone is going to like these light hero shooter elements, but for me, I did enjoy them, and eventually we'll be able to pick any character with any class, which will be pretty nice. But the gameplay changes don't stop with the characters. You can now dash in any given direction to give yourself some breathing room or to dodge an attack. There are turrets to activate, which can give you a big advantage, as well as special zip lines that allow you to access quick, distant parts of the map, allowing you to get a chance to regroup and plan an escape if needed. There are special pieces of equipment you can purchase in between rounds, like ammo bags, special locks to barricade doors, and multi-tools which will allow you to activate those turrets and zip lines that I just mentioned. For me, these are welcome additions, but some players might prefer the more basic setup the previous games offered. It really just comes down to your personal preference. Killing Floor 3 takes place far in the future, where the Zeds have essentially already destroyed the world. So most of the maps take place in this sci-fi setting: secret labs, abandoned military outposts, destroyed cities. I actually like most of the maps here, but unfortunately, there are only 8 maps at launch. And I think the average player will probably get bored of the same 8 maps after a couple weeks. We need to see how often we'll be getting new maps, because if you boot up Killing Floor 2 right now, you have like 3 dozen maps to play on with a lot more variety in terms of locales and settings, because that game isn't restricted by having, a sci-fi setting. You do absolutely have those types of maps in Killing Floor 2, but you also have a bunch of traditional horror environments, holiday-themed maps like Krampus's Evil Lair, gothic castles, farmhouses, underground labs, and abandoned theme park. Killing Floor 2 just has a great selection of levels, and it's going to take quite a lot of work for this new entry to catch up. Thankfully, Tripwire adjusted the atmosphere of some of these maps, which in the beta took place during the day for some of them, and they just didn't feel great. And now we have some more maps that give off that dark, creepy mood a lot of us were asking for, and they overall flow much better. Zeds will spawn in from all corners of the maps, from vents, ceilings, and sometimes right behind you, and you can actually see them spawn in, which is definitely immersion breaking. Visually, I think the game looks pretty great. There's some nice lighting here, and seeing all the blood and guts spray everywhere is always a joy to behold, especially when you enter Zed time, which slows the carnage down so you can catch all the gory details. However, the beta had a huge issue with animations, and it felt like these animations from the Zeds were just not finished. They barely reacted to getting shot, and everything just felt off. I can say in the final product, this has definitely been improved. Weapons have more oomph to them, and Zeds react much more violently to taking damage, which was one of the biggest complaints from the community and myself. We pretty much stated this during the beta period, so it is nice to see that this has improved. The audio is another major focus of these games, especially when it comes down to the soundtrack. I love the music in this game, and while Killing Floor 2 enlisted help from a lot of metal bands for its soundtrack, due to licensing reasons, Killing Floor 3 has an original OST. So if you like the music from the recent Doom games, that mix of metal, industrial, and techno, you'll feel right at home here. When that guitar kicks in, it's just fucking awesome, and it puts you in the mood to kill.
Boom, boom. Nailed him. Someone's got a steady trigger finger.
The audio from the guns, however, sound pretty weak, and the voice lines from the characters are just so cringy. Overall, the game has made a lot of improvements from its beta, and I do genuinely think it's a solid game with a strong foundation, but it definitely could have used more time in the oven because in a lot of ways, it still feels unfinished. This is most clear in its performance, optimization, and the overall amount of content. Honestly, I think the game should have been delayed even longer, maybe by an extra couple months, to iron out some of these bigger issues and launch the game with even more content. The most glaring issue to me is the performance during multiplayer. When playing solo, it's not really an issue, but online, the game's performance just is not where it's supposed to be, at least on PlayStation. I can't really speak for the other platforms. I don't know if it's just a server issue or the fact that there's way more Zeds present on the map at once to account for more players, but it can absolutely have an impact on how the game feels. I'm still able to enjoy myself because playing multiplayer can be a blast, but it kind of just highlights some of the game's underlying issues a lot more. There's also the issue of the amount of content on offer here. You have 8 maps, 6 characters, 3 difficulty modes, and 3 bosses, and that's about it. There are a ton of challenges to work toward if you're a completionist, and you can obviously spend a lot of time maxing out each character, but I imagine your average player isn't going to be doing all that. Having only 8 maps, 6 characters, and 3 bosses, where the entire game is just essentially a horde mode, you would think there would have been more on offer here, but that's not the case. If you go and play Killing Floor 2 right now, you'll have way more at your fingertips. And of course the game did not launch with all that content. Killing Floor 2 was supported for so many years, it didn't become the juggernaut it is overnight. It took many updates and patches to get there. So it seems that Killing Floor 3 will have a similar road to follow, with more maps, characters, weapons, and modes to be added over time. And if they can do this at a consistent pace, then we're in for a good time. But if the updates roll out at a snail's pace, I don't think your average player is going to stick around. So, at the end of the day, do I think Killing Floor 3 is good now? Yeah, I do. I've been having a good time, there's a lot to like. I really love the added depth of the classes, the weapon crafting, the visuals, and I think the gameplay is just fun. It just is. But I can't help but feel it's not finished. It definitely needed more development time, the potential is there, and I think even just 6 months from now, the game will be in a drastically better place. But $40 is a big asking price for a game that doesn't have a ton of content to offer. The gameplay is a blast and it can be very addictive, and when you're knee deep in Zeds and that music hits, it can be fucking awesome. But I wish they had let this game cook a little while longer. For me personally, I don't regret buying it, but unless you really love these types of games, you might want to wait for some more updates and patches to hit, or even just wait for a sale. I think Killing Floor 3 will be a great game down the line, but as it stands right now, it's just a good game that has not reached its potential quite yet. Anyway guys, that's my honest thoughts on the game. I am enjoying it, but it could be so much better, and there's very noticeable issues holding it back. Despite the issues, I do keep coming back for more, which I guess means that there's something special here underneath it all. But let me know what you think. Have you played it? Are you going to buy it down the line? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.
Tarado. Fernandito.